Hello everyone, welcome back to Made Easy, and I hope you all are doing very well. Before we begin, let me remind my dear students that the contents of this channel are only to supplement your knowledge, not to replace the regular online and offline classes in your institution. So please attend your classes and do not miss them. Also, if you like our contents, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the videos and share these videos with your friends, with your batchmates, with your juniors. Also, if you are a teacher, then with your students. Please follow our Facebook page and the link will be given in the description. In our last video, we discussed the natural history of disease, that is the natural pathway a disease process follows, provided it is not interfered with any kind of intervention or treatment. The natural history of disease, there is two stages, that is the stage of pre-pathogenesis and stage of pathogenesis. And we also learned how the agent factor, host factor and environmental factor, these three factors lie in complete harmony without interacting with each other. Once this harmony is or the balance is desynchronized, it leads to the onset of stage of pre-pathogenesis and ultimately the initiation of the disease process. Today we shall learn how the agent factor, host factor and environment factor is responsible for different diseases. So this is the epidemiological triad, or better to say this is the triangle of epidemiology, because along with the agent factor, host factor and the environment factor, at the three corners of the triangle we can also see there is this factor time. So the role of time in causation of disease has also been discussed in the previous videos. Let us start with the agent factor. So in epidemiology, the agent factor is basically any substance that can be living or non-living, or any force that can be tangible or intangible, the excessive presence or the relative lack of which can initiate a disease process. Let me give you an example. So if there is deficiency of iron in the diet, so that means there is lack of something, right? So relative lack of something. So if there is iron deficiency, it can lead to anemia, iron deficiency anemia. On the other hand, if the water we consume has excess of fluoride, then it can also cause fluorosis, the dental fluorosis or the skeletal fluorosis, etc. So that is how the lack or even excessive presence of some things or some organisms, substances or even forces can lead to initiation of certain disease process. So these are known as the agent. And a particular disease can have a single agent and can also have multiple agents. Sometimes a complex of two or more factors can combine together to cause the development of a disease. Here I have given some examples of different agents. For example, the biological agent, we know about the different bacteria, virus, fungus, parasites leading to different diseases, and they have certain characteristics or properties like infectivity, pathogenicity, virulence, etc. These have been discussed or will be discussed in future classes. What about nutrient agents? So deficiency of certain nutrients or even excess of certain nutrients, as I mentioned earlier in the example, can lead to certain either deficiency diseases or some other kind of diseases. Physical agents like exposure to excessive heat, cold or humidity, even pressure, radiation, electricity, sound, etc. can lead to different diseases. And mechanical agents like chronic friction and other mechanical forces may result in crushing, tearing, sprains, dislocation or even death. So a human population interacting with different machineries in their profession, and there are a lot of occupational accidents. So using machineries and there is some kind of unpleasant events occurring. Maybe there is a loss of limbs, or maybe a person can even die from using these machines if there is some big accident that occurs. So mechanical agents are also there. Coming to chemical agents, that can be endogenous or exogenous. So some of the chemicals that is produced in the body, and it can result in derangement of the function. For example, if there is excess of urea, it can lead to uremia. Bilirubin increase lead to jaundice, hyperbilirubinemia, and excess of ketone leading to ketosis. If there is excess of uric acid, it is hyperuricemia leading to gout. and calcium carbonate can lead to different kind of stones, especially in kidneys, etc. And exogenous, so some of the chemicals from outside the human body. So sometimes we have to deal with substances which are the basically chemical substances, and they can have some allergen property. Some of the metals, fumes, dust, gases, etc. Also insecticide, pesticide. So in agricultural work, people have to be working with this kind of things on daily basis, and they are exposed to different kind of exogenous chemicals, and this can be acquired by either inhalation of the chemical or ingestion or inoculation, leading to different kind of diseases. Next is the host factor. Certain factors of the host itself can lead to diseases. For example, the demographic characteristics. So age, certain diseases are very common in certain age groups. So respiratory infections, diarrhea are very common in under 5 children. Also COPD and other lung diseases, non-communicable diseases, etc. are very common in the older age group, geriatric population. Similarly, certain diseases are more common in a particular gender, and some diseases occur only in one particular gender, like cervical cancer, testicular cancer, etc. And also hypothyroidism, that occurs in both males and females, but occurs more commonly among the females. And also ethnicity, etc. What about the biological characteristics such as genetic factors, biological level of the blood like cholesterol, and blood groups, enzymes, cellular constituents of the blood, immunological factors, and physiological function of different organ systems of the body. And these things in the human body itself can determine whether a particular disease will occur or not. Some of the examples are, if there is history of or family history of diabetes, and then the person is obviously susceptible to develop the disease, the diabetes. He is at higher risk. Also certain organ function, like a person who has been smoking for a long period of time, so there is some pathology in his lungs. So these are the biological characteristics, and it is expected the person will develop COPD at certain point of time. Social and economical characteristics like socio-economic status, education, occupation, stress, marital status, housing, etc. Again, certain diseases are very common in the lower socio-economic status people, especially diseases like related to nutrition, so malnutrition, because these people cannot afford adequate amount of nutrition because of low income. Also, they are sometimes forced to stay in a very congested place, so overcrowding may be present. This can lead to certain diseases, for example respiratory infections, and also other communicable diseases among them. Lifestyle factors like personality traits, living habits, nutrition, physical exercise, use of alcohol, drug, smoking, and behavioral patterns. So what is the lifestyle of a person, and that lifestyle of that person can determine whether he will have any disease or not. So a person who is known to be smoking, or known to be alcoholic for a long period of time, he is definitely at risk to develop the lung diseases or liver diseases. And maybe a person who does not follow nutritious diet, he takes any kind of food, the fast foods, etc., and it is expected there can be some kind of obesity, maybe hypercholesterolemia, ultimately leading to hypertension, maybe even cardiovascular accidents, etc. The next one is the environmental factors. Whenever we say environment, we basically mean the plants, the animals around us, and also the climatic factor. But environment does not only limit to these things whenever we are considering the role of environment in causation of disease. So that is why we can divide the environment into three components, like the physical environment, the biological environment, and the psychosocial environment. So what is the physical environment? So any non-living thing or the physical factors like air, water, soil, housing, climate, geography, the heat, light, noise, debris, radiation, etc., to which the human population is in constant interaction on daily basis. and this can determine whether certain diseases will occur or not. So for example, we can be chronically exposed to different kind of water pollution, air pollution, noise pollution. There can be some radiation hazard, especially in case of particular occupations, and due to urbanization also there is lot of problems like all these pollutions that I have already mentioned, and there is lack of natural environment like water bodies, trees, etc., leading to different kind of problems. And there can also be exposure to electromagnetic waves. So all these things can lead to different diseases. So these are the physical environments, all the non-living things around us. What about the biological environment? So this is basically the universe of living things that surrounds us, including other people, because we can get diseases from other people also who are around us. So these living things can be virus or bacteria, different microbiological agents, even insects, rodents, animals, and plants. So we can have disease producing agents, the causative agents that particularly causes the disease. We can have some reservoir of infections, intermediate host where the disease pathogen or the organism that goes through the asexual cycle, and the vector of the disease. That means these vectors, the insects or something like that, even the rodents, they do not cause the disease themselves, but they carry the disease agent from the reservoir or source to the human population. So all of these comprise the biological environment. The next one is the psychosocial environment. So basically different cultural beliefs and practices and customs, it vary from country to country. So from one country, if you compare one country with another country, you will see that there is some differences in their cultures and customs. Also, in a big country, it can vary from one region to another region. So what are these psychosocial factors? We can include the cultural values, customs, habits, their beliefs, their attitudes, and also morals, their lifestyle, the community health, level of education, and the availability of health services, their social status, etc., into the psychosocial factors. And let me give you some examples of customs and beliefs, etc. Earlier, this was a practice to have home deliveries. That means the mothers would deliver their babies at home, and these were conducted by the dais who were not trained, and they would conduct this at home. The method of delivery was not at all hygienic. So because of that, lots of infection could have occurred, and there were a lot of cases of maternal as well as neonatal tetanus. But with mandating the institutional delivery, there are a lot of health services, health schemes which encourages the institutional delivery at hospital or health center. Mothers now are delivering their babies at hospital, and the number of home deliveries have declined ever since in last 2 or 3 decades. And because of that, we have successfully eliminated maternal and neonatal tetanus in our country, which is a good thing. Another example is it was also a practice by the mothers to give certain things before introduction of the breastfeeding. So a baby is born, before giving the baby breast milk, prelacteal feed would be given, honey water or something like that. So these are basically the cultural beliefs. Also sometimes the mother would discard the colostrum because they think this is not required for the baby, and since the colostrum looks a little bit different than usual regular milk, so they would think it is better if they discard that. But we know the nutritional value of colostrum, which is very, very important for the child. So these are certain practices and beliefs which can determine whether particular disease can occur or not. So these beliefs, customs, practices sometimes put the people at risk, and there can sometimes be some good practices which will somewhat prevent the disease in the community. So with this, we conclude today's session. We have discussed the different agent factors, the host factors and environment factors, and how they can cause the diseases. If you like the video, please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your batchmates, juniors and friends. We also have our Facebook page that you can follow. The link is given in the description. Take care and we shall see you in our next video.